Welcome into this Tuesday edition of ESPN FC. Shaka Hislop, Stevie Nichols, Sebastian Salazar here in studio. We'll be joined in just a little bit by Julian Laurent. We're also going to hear later in the show from Gab Marcotti, who will help us sift through all the
full house today.
It is a full house. All the potential options to replace Max Allegri. You're gonna engage with some technology too at the touchscreen.
That's a sight to be seen.
We're going to get top 5 Premier League teams of all time. But we start with PSG in France, where the reverberations of some controversial comments from Kylian Mbappé still making their way around the French press. My best translation there of the L'Equipe cover is master of I. Here's what Mbappé had to say on Sunday after picking up some individual hardware. He said, "I feel it is maybe the moment to have more responsibility. I hope that could perhaps be at PSG. That would be a great pleasure, or maybe elsewhere with a new project." He afterwards did confirm he was sending a message, but said if he said any more, it would be too much. PSG, of course, released a statement saying Mbappé will be back next year. Jules, I'm going to start with you on this. When you hear a new project, you think, okay, this may be a come get me message from Kylian Mbappé. But then in the piece that I read from you, co-authored with Jonathan Johnson, it makes it sound like that's not the message. So what is Mbappé trying to say here?
Well, clearly he wanted to put pressure on PSG, not so much to leave the club because he knows that this is pretty much impossible right now. I don't think he wants to leave the club either, even to go to Real Madrid, which at some point will be his dream. But I think it was more about his own status in Paris, in that dressing room especially. He wants his voice to be heard. He wants to be more involved. He wants people to take him as a leader and, make him feel like he's important. Maybe get a pay rise as well. He wouldn't say no to the armband, for example. And the word responsibilities, which is really the word that has echoed a lot from what he's been saying, from the quotes, is like, I'm important for this team. I've scored 38 goals and given 17 assists in my 48 games in Paris this season. I am the best player in this team right now. There's no debate. I've just been voted best player in the league. I need more respect. I want more respect. I want more responsibilities. I want to be more important. And also what that means is he wants to play in the center. He wants to play as a center forward, as a number 9. He doesn't want to be a wide player anymore. And obviously that asks a question about what's next for Edinson Cavani, who has been PSG's number 9 the last 2 seasons.
So what does that mean for Cavani, Jules?
That's the question. I mean, the funny thing is that Mbappé doesn't want to play as a number 9 on his own. He would like someone up there with him, and Cavani could be that player, and they could play the 2 up front. On his side, Cavani says that Mbappé is not a proper in and out number 9 either. He's not a proper finisher like he could be, like Cavani is in a way. Cavani has 1 more year left on his contract. So far, there hasn't been any attempt from the club to negotiate an extension to that. Does that mean that PSG would try to sell him in the summer? Maybe. He wants to stay in Paris. He's very happy there. He's just had a baby girl. His family is happy there too. He's 32 years of age as well. So, where could you go next? There's a big question mark, though, over his future at the club and also what the dynamic will create between him and Mbappé, him and Neymar and Mbappé with Cavani as well. It'd be a hard one, I think, for Tuchel to get to the bottom of.
Stevie, when you think about this dressing room, you have to ask yourself how a guy like Cavani is hearing a message like this.
Absolutely. This is incredible. This kid's 20 years of old. At 20 years of age, all you should be worried about is playing football. And it's comical. He wants more respect. Well, the way he's going about it is he's completely disrespecting Cavani. How do you get respect by running around flexing your supposed muscles, telling everybody what you want and what should happen? Absolute garbage. I'll tell you, if he's in a dressing room with a bunch of pros that I played with, I'll tell you what, he's getting thrown out the door.
I understand the point you're making, Stevie, but I have to say I disagree a little bit. I more think it's along the lines as Julian suggests.
Jack, he's 20 years old.
I'm not disputing that at all. I think what you've seen from Kylian Mbappé over the last couple of seasons and listening to the show and his comments of yesterday is that he's turned a corner in that he arrived at PSG at 18 years old. I think you've seen a maturity to Mbappe's game over the last couple of seasons. You're also seeing him taking on the responsibility that comes with not just the best player at PSG, but also the best player in the league. He's now a World Cup winner and taking on the responsibility. Now, where I tend to disagree with here, and I don't think we need to read too much into his comments, certainly positionally, in that he feels that he needs to be treated with a certain amount of responsibility and have the team built around him more in the way that the team had been built around Neymar in past. Now, whether that means shifting to the middle or not, time will tell. Real Madrid built a team around Cristiano Ronaldo playing out wide. Or if Cristiano Ronaldo decided to tuck inside, they would adjust it accordingly. I think this is what he's hinting at.
Who decides?
PSG...
Who decides
well,
who you build the team around? He's
making that decision.
He's a player. He's a 20-year-old kid.
Ronaldo was a player as well.
Hold on. He's a 20-year-old kid who's trying to tell everybody at PSG what to do. That's what he's doing.
He's a World Cup winner.
So
by far, hold on. By far and away the best player in this team, saying what it will take to keep him at PSG in terms of how this team is structured. I have no problem with that at all.
How does a 20-year-old know? How does a 20-year-old, let me ask anybody, how does a 20-year-old know what the board should be doing, what the coach should be doing, this is what I should be doing, I need to do this, I need to do that. He's 20 years of age, he's got loads more to go in far as maturity. Yeah. And I'll tell you one thing, he's not maturing off the field. I've never heard anything so much. I've never heard anything so stupid as a 20-year-old trying to tell everybody. I mean, Shaka, if I walk up to you and go, right, by the way, you need to show me more respect. Well, is that going to make you do it? Absolutely not.
I know you too well, Stephen.
Absolutely not.
In the piece that Jules wrote, it says that he wants to be consulted on recruitment.
Seriously, why?
He wants to pick his position. I think you used the term Billy Big Time,
Billy
Stevie, on yesterday's show.
Absolutely. Who does he think he is?
But I want to get Jules. I mean, Jules, is Stevie wrong here? Is there some Billy Big Time to what Mbappé is doing right now?
You can see it that way, and I think Stevie is right in a way, and there's a lot of people who agree with him, even amongst PSG fans, about the way Kylian Mbappé, and not just with that comment, but for a few months now, and since he's arrived at the club, even with the French national team, but even when he was at Monaco before, it was not unusual for his dad to go to the press and say, we're not happy, he's not playing enough. They're very ambitious people, and also he's a very, very good player, and he knows how good he is. He knows what a prodigy he is, and he knows also, and that's why he said at the beginning of that quote that we read, he also said that he hadn't expected this season to go so well for him, to be so important to that team and to have those numbers in terms of goals and assists. And because that arrived so early, quicker than I think him and his dad anticipated, he feels now that he should be more important because the results and the numbers have showed that this season, he's been PSG's best player. He's been Ligue 1's best player. And maybe even France's best player too with the national team. And that's why, because he's so ambitious, slight arrogance, slight whatever you want to call it, Stevie, that he needs more responsibilities, he needs more this, he needs more that. But I can see why that has got done quite wrong with a lot of people too.
I've just realised where I went wrong. I never got my dad involved.
I tell you what, age aside, Kylian Mbappé deserves more respect within this PSG team than Neymar. If we had Neymar saying exactly this, I don't think people would question it anywhere near as much. And without question, what we've seen on the park, particularly over the last 12 months, Mbappé is far more deserving. And as a result, far less worthy of criticism in that regard.
Hey, you got a response?
What criticism? What criticism?
What, you just criticised him.
You've got a kid who you're saying.
What I started here by saying, my last comment, age aside. If this was Neymar,
you just said
he
wants more respect in the dressing room, right? Mm-hmm. Do you think for 1 second he doesn't get respected? Where is he pulling this from? He's pulling this from nowhere. His dad, his agent, whoever, is filling his kid's head with absolute nonsense. And he's going on record and spouting it out. Seriously, Shaka,
again,
come on.
That doesn't address my point.
What makes you think for 1 second he doesn't have the respect of the dressing room?
I don't think he has the respect that Neymar does.
He's asking for it. I mean, I think that's one thing.
You don't ask. These things you don't ask for. You don't ask for these things. Those things come to you with your performance on the field, and by the way, just as much, what you're like off the field. That respect is not only just about playing football, it's about the way you're handling yourself off the field. And if he's going in the dressing room and he's leaving the dressing room and going and talking to the board and telling them what they should be doing, the only thing that's going to happen is the dressing room will not respect that.
Hey, Jules, we know Mbappé wants to be the guy. We also know Neymar wants to be the guy. How confident are you that we're not headed to a head-to-head showdown between these two egos?
Yeah, I mean, that's one of the questions over next season and how Thomas Tuchel is going to deal with that sort of dynamic. Remember after the World Cup, so let's say in August when Mbappé came back from holidays, we felt already a bit of a shift in the dynamic there, which was Neymar was the big boss before, he was the king, and Mbappé was very much the prince at the time. The World Cup and what happened in Brazil, what happened to Brazil, in Russia, and what happened to France and Mbappé in Russia as well, sort of changed a bit all that dynamic. And now with the current season and how that went, with Mbappé and all, as we said, the numbers and the goals and the assists and that feeling that he's been the key player in that team all this season, more than Neymar, more than Cavani, more than anyone else. There's a feeling that maybe that has changed again. You know, that dynamic now is far more leveled. For example, Neymar is always asked about trainings by Thomas Tuchel, about recruitment by Nasser Al-Khelaifi, the chairman, or Antonio Enrique, the sporting director. Not Mbappé. Mbappé is not consulted. He wants to be. He wants people to ask him, okay, what do you think about this? What do you think about that? Mbappé hasn't been mentioned as a leader at the start of the season, not like Buffon, not like Neymar, not like Thiago Silva. He wants to be. He wants to be named. He wants to be a vice captain. He wants to be part of the few players who negotiate the bonuses for the whole team, for the whole squads, which was not the case before. That's the kind of things he wants. And yeah, we can call him arrogant and we can call him ambitious. He doesn't want to waste time. He keeps saying to everyone who wants to hear, don't talk to me about age. Age means nothing. Age means nothing in football. And I can see why Stevie disagrees. I can see why Shaka agrees. And it's a tricky one. Also because he's so good. And PSG don't want to lose him because he's so good. A lot of people say in Paris, sell him then. Get 350 million for Real Madrid and let him go after what he said on Sunday night. But you can also see why they're very reluctant to do that, because he's so good, he's so talented, that you could also say that he's the future of the club.
Quickly, Jules, how long do you think Mbappé will be at PSG?
I give him another year, maybe two maximum, and after that he'll be gone to Real Madrid.
Well, no matter whether he stays or goes, keep up to the latest with our live transfer talk over on the website, ESPNFC.com. We will have all the latest news and rumors throughout the summer. The Italian papers abuzz with rumors of who will replace Max Allegri at Juventus. Of course, his 5-year run at the club set to come to a close at season's end. Perfect spot in the show to welcome in Gab Marcotti for the latest edition of Gab-O-Meter or Gabometer. Take your choice. Basically, we give Gab a bunch of names, and between 1 and 10, he's going to assign a value to just how likely it is that these names will end up at Juventus. Gab, let's start with José Mourinho.
I'm going to go 1. I think this is highly unlikely. I believe in Santa Claus. I believe in integrity. I believe in what people say. I remember José Mourinho, what he said about Juventus, what Juventus have said about him. I remember him holding 3 fingers up to the Juve fans who were abusing him just a few months ago. I believe in it. He's being real when he says how much he loves Inter. This whole thing seems to have started up with the fact that people have reported that Cristiano Ronaldo has put his name forward. Remember, relations between Ronaldo and Mourinho were not good, even though they share the same agent. Supposedly they thought, I'm not buying anything. I don't think he's coming.
Mauricio Pochettino's cousin has come out and said everyone in the family wants to see him manage Juve. What is the Gabometer telling us?
Well, I don't know who am I to argue with his cousin, but I'm going to go with a 2 here. The logic here is obviously Pochettino is a manager that Juventus would love. Obviously, we know how hard it is to get him out of Tottenham, but the idea is if he wins the Champions League, he can say, hey, look, Mr. Levy, my work here is done. I've completed a cycle. I've been here 5 years. I've delivered the biggest prize in club football. I want to move on to a new challenge. I still think it's a real long shot. I think he can hold out for a different sort of job if he wants it. So I'm going 2.
The Gabometer not very excited about our first two names. What about this name, Maurizio Sarri?
Mr. Excitement only gets a 3 here in Maurizio Sarri. This is predicated upon the fact that Chelsea are going to sack Sarri. My information is that they won't. In the end, he finished 3rd. He's in the Europa League final. He reached the League Cup final. There's a possible transfer ban hanging over the club. Juventus would have to go and pay compensation to make this happen. Sarri would have to resign. It just seems like, again, a lot of things have to come together. The other thing is also, it would be a total reversal of style to go into Sarri's sort of wide open football from what we've seen in the last few years. Not sure also that would work with all the veteran players they have.
What about Antonio Conte, heavily linked to Inter? Any chance he ends up in Turin?
I'm going to go at 3 on this one. It seems far-fetched if you remember the circumstances of how he left the club walking out in the middle of summer because he was unhappy with signings. Well, if you look at Juve's squad, I mean, he's got to be happy, right? These are great players. I think he's raring to get back. He's been on a PR offensive. Obviously, he's been linked to Inter. Some people say he's linking himself to Inter. The great thing about Conte, why it would make sense, is Juve have a certain window of opportunity that's closing, given the older players that are there. And what Conte has done really consistently is he gives teams a short-term jolt.
What about Simone Inzaghi? How attractive would he be to Juventus?
We really don't know which way Juve are heading right now, but certainly Simone Inzaghi, for me, I give him a 6 because he is somebody, at least you have something to hang on to. He has a very close relationship with Fabio Paratici, who is Juve's sporting director. He's certainly available. He would be sort of an Allegri light, right? Because he's a player's coach. He's a little more cautious. He presents himself reasonably well, not as charismatic as Allegri, but he's a whole heck of a lot cheaper and hungrier than Allegri, more of a company man, certainly at this stage of his career. So I think in some ways they would see Inzaghi as kind of the safe, low-risk bet, or the continuity bet anyway.
For much more on this, check out this week's Serie Awesome podcast. The latest episode recorded just today. Gab joined by Mina Rizuki, Paolo Bandini, available on iTunes and ESPNFC.com. Don't forget, Extra Time is your chance to get involved in the show. Boys answer your questions. You can check it out on the YouTube channel or ESPNFC.com. Of course, the conversation all week is this Manchester City team the best of all time in the Premier League era? So we decided to do a top 5 all time of Shaka's power ranking. Shaka, what you got?
I've got Chelsea 0506 in at number 5. This is the first team of the Mourinho era, building on the team of 0405. In at number 4, Arsenal, the Invincibles of 0304. I'm not sure I need to explain that a whole lot further. I had a hard time deciding who would be 2 and who would be 3. In the end, I went for Manchester United 0708, who of course won the Champions League as they did the league, above Manchester City of this current era. Highest and second highest points totals over the last couple of years, and really what pushed me over the edge. I didn't want anybody to accuse me of being a Manchester United fan, as I have Manchester United 98, 99 in at number 1. That treble-winning team, for what it's worth, I thought without question, the best team of the Premier League era.
98-99 Manchester United team, then the best of the Premier League era, Stevie. As Shaka takes his seat, what do you think? Agree?
You better agree.
I absolutely agree with who's number 1.
Okay.
That side was phenomenal.
You know, they only won the league by a point.
Yeah, I know, but I know.
As did Man City this season.
My second point is going to matter, because the one change I would make to that whole board is I would move Manchester City from 2 down to 5. And the reason I would do that is because the way the game was played, when all of those 4 other sides were playing, you could win by 2 means. You could either outplay your opponent or you could outfight them. And Manchester City wouldn't last on the field if the rules were what they were back then. Because Manchester City are just a complete and utter footballing side. They wouldn't win a fight in a month of Sundays. But these other teams, the other 4, would win a fight or a game of football, no question.
Gab, do you agree with Stevie they wouldn't win a fight on a month of Sundays?
I mean, first of all, we are talking about the 99 side here, right? Like, I know that in the 80s it was different, but by 1999, even in England, things had sharpened up a little bit in terms of the reducer and whatever else. You know, Vinnie Jones had retired, Jimmy Case was gone, Steve McMahon, all these guys were no longer a part of the scenario. When you did stuff like that, it got punished.
What happened when Arsenal and Manchester United used to all be fighting before the game started in the tunnel and then carry it onto the field, Gab? What year was that?
You know what I saw there? I saw a lot of handbags. I saw a lot of, Patrick Vieira having words with Gary Neville, and then Roy Keane going and saying, if you want to have words with him, why don't you pick on me? I'm close to your size, stuff like that. I saw Ruud van Nistelrooy and Martin Keown jumping around like a weirdo. I saw a lot of that, but I didn't see some of the stuff.
You don't remember Roy Keane and Vieira
when
kicking
you started
each other.
playing.
You don't remember Roy Keane and Vieira kicking
honestly,
each other.
Stevie, you played in that era, okay? And you played in the era before, right? You're one of the people who knows who Harford and Whitehurst and who these guys were. To paint a picture of the late 90s in that way, I personally think is inaccurate. I don't think it was that extreme. I think winning the treble was the greatest feat that we've seen. In terms of what the better team is, if you look at over the 2 seasons, if you look at the overall standard, if you look at the quality of the competition, if you look at the fact that, this year you've got the 2 Europa League finalists finished, 29 or whatever, 28 points behind and 27 points behind, something stupid like that. To me, I would put this City side ahead of them for the quality of the team, certainly in the way the game is played today. If you want to talk greatest feat, I'll give you the treble.
I wonder who Jules has. Let's ask Jules to pick between Shaka's top 2. So 98-99 Manchester United, this year's Manchester City. Who are you taking?
I'm with Gab on this one. I have to say, I think this City team, and certainly this season and the last season, has been exceptional. I would pay to see this City team against the 99 United team. Both with the players at their time, and I would absolutely love that contest, which we can't have obviously now. But I would agree with Gab. Although I think Stevie and Chaka made some really good points as well. I think this City team is sensational.
Journos see it one way, players see it another.
There's a shock.
Interesting.
Shaka,
you'll be back
we need
tomorrow,
referees now.
and you can defend your choices against another pundit, Ian Dark, who I'm sure will have some hot takes on the top. Celebrated, so is this. Scenes from Pamplona. Osasuna is back in La Liga. They clinched promotion over the weekend. They've only been gone for a couple seasons, but looks like the folks in Pamplona very, very excited about Osasuna heading back up.
I'd like to be there.
Yeah, that's a good
Middle of
party.
that. I'll take your word for it,
Yeah.
Sebi. Clearly, you.
Ian Dark has like a golf house over there somewhere in Spain. Maybe
you know far too much about Pamplona for
You didn't like that one.
my understanding.
All right, that'll do it for us. We'll see you next time. All right.
I was
waiting for that.
It was coiled and ready. All
I've
right.
been holding on to that one.
All right.
A few weeks on the simmer. It is extra time, as you can tell from the standard greeting.
I should hope so.
We've got Shaka and Stevie here in studio. We got Jules and Gab waiting in the wings. And we also have this question. From Jim, why is Mariner wearing his jockeys? Oh, okay. This is a picture. I think this used to be a part of the old ESPN FC digital set.
Yeah, I remember that.
Everybody looks to be, in their peak, in their prime.
TV showing a little leg, extra leg
Stevie's
himself.
not showing any leg compared to Paul.
Well, no.
Well,
Did he roll up his shorts there? Was it one of them where he rolled his shorts up?
it could be.
Yes.
Roll them up the side.
Nobody made shorts them shorts.
I'll tell you what.
Well,
back in the
No
80s,
no sports teams made shorts that short.
that was the 80s.
I'm sure you could find them in other establishments.
They were short shorts, weren't they?
They were very short shorts.
I took that picture to put out with our extra time tweet, kind of soliciting questions. And a lot of people took note of it. Hans wants to know, or makes the comment, Nickel looks fierce. And in that picture, Stevie, that's an intense look you're giving somebody, or the ball, or
I
something.
took the game serious.
Yeah?
That's you taking the game seriously there?
The Play sharp, not pass, and all that, and give the ball to a teammate. That was the 2 rules.
Okay.
Very serious.
That's serious, Stevie.
For you. Let's ask Gab. Gab, what do you think of the images that are coming across your screen there on the glow point?
Well, all right. I've been in that digital studio and I've sat there with our colleague Alexis and sort of looked up at the Mariner package many times. So I've kind of become immune to that. I did notice a theme with Stevie though, is that he rarely, like pictures of him rarely look flattering, because if you look in that one, sort of his arms all like kind of at an angle like that. And even recently I was at the Football Writers Awards dinner where they give an award to the Footballer of the Year every year. It's a really prestigious award. Obviously, Mohamed Salah won it last year. Raheem Sterling won it this year. Well, Stevie, of course, won it way back, I think, in 1988 or around there. And everybody's got they've got the pictures of all the winners up on the wall. And some of the older guys, they've got like the posed picture with like sort of the gel in the hair. Others have like action pics, like Alan Shearer shooting on goal, whatever. With Stevie, they show the most unflattering picture where it looks as if like the ball has just bounced off him. Like there's not even and I'm just thinking like, man, Stevie, the guy played like 300, 400, 500. I don't even know how many games. Surely they could have found a better picture. I don't know if is it that you don't photograph well? Is that it?
Do you know what, Gab? It's amazing because you remember the Panini stickers? The Panini sticker that they've got of me, I'm like that. I've got my tongue hanging out. I'm like, there must have been a picture where it didn't look like that. I can't explain it.
Hang on. Wait, I have an explanation here. Now, for those who might not know this, and you really should, because you would have read Stevie's book, Stevie, of course, played on a great Liverpool side with legends like Kenny Dalglish and Graham Souness and Alan Hansen. Now, I'm told by some other members of that side that because Stevie was Scottish like them, still is, but perhaps a little bit younger, sometimes you were the butt of jokes. Correct me if I'm wrong here. Is it possible that Alan Hansen was so powerful that he got through to the people at Panini and every single photographer in England and said, please, only use rubbish photos of Nickel?
Well, I will say that Mr. Alan Hansen, Esquire, could talk anybody into anything. Put it that way. He certainly talked me into a lot of things that I shouldn't have done.
Like taking bad photos?
Yeah.
All right.
I wouldn't be surprised.
All right.
We have seen the picture, and Gab's right. It's not very flattering.
I know, tongue's out. I mean, it's frightening.
A monument like this certainly could have been captured better, I think.
Hey, at least we pictures up there, Gab.
Yeah, that's true. That's
all
true.
that matters.
That's very true.
All right, let's move on here. Bill wants to know, if Manchester City's reserves were their own team, where would they finish in the Premier League table? So we probably need an 11 on this. Have we cooked one up there somewhere in the back? I think we do. Okay, so here's a reserve starting 11 for City. How do we think they'd end up in the Premier League? Stevie, what do you think?
Well, they'd certainly lose plenty of goals. I mean, Stones and Otamendi are not particularly great defensively.
Top 4?
No.
That's a pretty good team.
No, it's not. As an 11, I don't think that's a great team.
Oh,
I think any number of those players come in to the current City 11, and there's not a whole lot of drop-off. You can make that argument. But as an 11, I don't think that's a good team.
Top 6?
Again, no.
Top 10?
Top 10.
Top 10 if they get a couple of refereeing decisions their way.
Wow. Jules, what do you think of that? Where would the City reserves end up in a hypothetical Prem?
Yeah, top 10, I think that's probably fair and probably doable, I think. Let's not forget that Pep, I assume Pep will be the manager as well. Can he manage both the first team and the reserve team? And I think Pep, even with a reserve team like that, could do a pretty good job.
This is a good point. All right, next question. Glenn wants to know, does Stevie get nervous watching games now as a fan? Did he as a player? As a fan, yeah, we've all.
As a fan, yeah. I'm the same as everybody else.
I'd say you're more.
Yeah.
Watching Liverpool
nervous
games
isn't
with
the
you,
term I'd use.
really, really
Nervous is not the term I
Yeah.
would use.
Yeah, enraged.
I get angry
You do. At other people.
very
in
quickly.
Liverpool,
I go from 0 to 100 just a snap of a finger.
you
But then I
think-
go back just as quickly.
yeah. Sure.
I think photos
yeah.
of him playing are unflattering. You should see some photos of him watching
Yeah.
Liverpool play.
When I played, I was absolutely not nervous.
No.
No.
Never.
No, as soon as the whistle blows, that's it. The nerves is just gone. As a coach, though, torture.
As a coach, it's hard. As a
Coach out of your
had to be
fans.
hard.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
Fans.
Yeah,
But
coach had to be hard.
as a fan watching, yeah, I get.
Let me get Jules in on the next one. Kartik wants to know, Jules, who are you supporting in the upcoming ICC World Cup? I guess that's cricket?
Yeah, that's cricket. That's a great question. I think England have the best squad of the competition. I think they have their best squad they've ever had in ICC World Cup before, and they're on home soil as well. So everything is there for England to win it. However, they could also bottle it, as we saw against the West Indies, and Shaka will probably still remember that game, that incredible final where Ben Stokes just bottled the last over bowling. So I think if England don't mess up, they should win it. If they do mess up, then I think it's quite open behind them.
Yeah, have any thoughts on the ICC World Cup 2019 edition?
The only ICC in my life is the one Charlie Stilitano runs.
Okay.
Which is also broadcast on this network.
All righty.
Great.
West Indies are going to win it. Don't bother to tune in because the West Indies are going to win.
Actually, we have the rights in the Caribbean, so you should definitely, don't we?
We're going to win.
Tune in. We should not tell people not to tune in.
If you're West Indian, tune in because we're going to win. That's how we do it.
Let's not discourage people from watching the network.
I'm just telling you what's going to happen.
Stevie, is Steve Clarke a good appointment for Scotland?
Absolutely.
Yeah, you like it?
Yeah, absolutely. Listen, the truth is that there weren't many people who were even interested in this job with any sort of CV or reputation. The fact is that right now, Steve Clarke's the best man for the job. And he also really, really wants it. And so, yeah, I think this is a great appointment. You know, and the one thing Steve Clarke will have over a foreign manager or a foreign manager that maybe even be interested in this, he will know absolutely every Scottish player available in both Scotland and England with one phone call. You know, his CV of coaching in particular has covered the whole of the leagues in England and in Scotland. So he will know every single detail about every single player. And plus the fact, the guy's a great coach. So this is a great appointment.
I thought it was guaranteed that Steve Nicol would be Scotland and New England Revolution manager at the same time.
I know.
Well, I couldn't make
We
me
don't
up
pay.
one,
I'm glad
so I
he's
just-
here.
A dual appointment.
I saw that Revs
Let's be
job
honest,
come
it's
open. I
the
was
only way
worried.
they could afford him. It's the only way either, could afford him, that they combine the salary. But I thought
gotta pay for that
it was a
golf.
done deal.
All right, so our final question is kind of down the same line, but for Shaka. Shaka, if you could be any reptile that
Why
isn't
did you
extinct,
look at me?
which one would
Why
you
did you
choose?
look at me? You looked
And
straight
why?
at me. I thought, oh, there's another one coming here.
Wait,
and then you
wait.
told me it was for Shaka.
Because it was kind of down the same line.
Why did you not look at him?
I was getting to Shaka. It was a transition. so
goodness
start with you and in Shaka. Hosting 101.
I'm
I'll
worried
get to
about
it.
this
Don't worry.
question now.
All right, so I have to repeat the question. If you could be any reptile, non-extinct, which one would you choose and why?
Reptile?
Shaka? That's right, reptile.
A reptile.
Non-extinct.
Frogs reptiles?
Frogs are. I'm not a scientist, but I'm going to think, yeah, that seems reasonable. Yeah.
I'd like to be one of them colorful, poisonous frogs.
Wow, really?
Yeah.
Why?
So I could poison people.
That seems dark. A dark turn to end extra time.
Well, let's be honest.
Are we on the Animal Channel as well now?
We got to take questions.
I mean,
This is what the people want to know about us.
All right.
I'll be honest. It's not something I give a whole lot of thought to during the course of my life. If I was going to be one reptile, this is
Right.
what I'm going to be.
Right.
It's called a love guards.
Oh, sorry. I'm being told now frogs are not even reptiles. So, This apparently is not the Discovery Channel because we don't know the difference.
So what's reptiles? What's a reptile?
Let's ask a man of a scholar.
Crocodile.
The
crocodile's a reptile.
A crocodile can't be a reptile. Even I know that.
A gecko. A gecko, I'm told, is a reptile.
Well, now we have a list of one reptile.
Okay, so Gab seems like he would know a reptile. Oh, crocodile's a reptile.
I just told you that.
Okay.
Not one of you took any notice of it.
You know how I know if you're listening?
Eh?
Sebi,
Gab, what do you got? You a
Out of all
reptile
of
fan
us.
or what?
no, but Sebi, out of all of us, who do you think is most likely to spend hours watching Animal Planet? Out
This
of
is
all
a
of us here on
great
Extra Time.
question. Of the
The
four,
man who knows that a crocodile is a reptile,
Yeah.
and
Right.
so is a Komodo dragon, which is far cooler.
You're
It's a
right,
good
Gab.
point.
You're actually spot on, Gab.
right.
I
A
do.
salamander. I'm going to go for salamander.
salamander. Any why there, or are you just naming things that you think are reptiles?
It's cool. It's cool, salamanders.
Okay. All right. Well, I don't know if there'll be any salamander or gecko talk on
Now
tomorrow's
I'm going to
show.
go home
I
and
can't really
watch
guarantee you.
Discovery Channel.
Ian Dark will be here. I'm sure he watches a lot of Animal Planet.